解除。
这股火
看来很快我们就
能不是有神力的气息？难道说
迎来下一场狩猎了？
身体濒临极限，再透支下去会崩溃。杀！
全部去死！
吃掉他们！
Hello everyone, welcome to the Alrasta channel. Here I will share spoilers for SwallowedStar episode 180. Remember, this is based on the novel, so it won't be 100% similar to the Donghua version. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right into the story. After defeating the enemies in Shattered Star in various places, the atmosphere inside the ship was more relaxed. They evaluated the loot. Taiwo felt that the loot this time were quite satisfactory. One of the team members, Hammer, suggested that the captain choose the items he wanted first because he was the one who killed the strongest enemy. Taiwo only chose the enemy's long spear while the rest was divided equally. In the corner of the room, Luofeng sat relaxed. When offered a share of the loot, he declined with a small smile. "Take it, I don't need it," he said casually. Meanwhile, Mei Nu teased Du Yao, the team member known for being stingy, to learn from Luofeng. But Du Yao wasn't willing to lose out. He inspected the loot, took 2 items he deemed important, then tossed the rest toward Mei Nu. Although they often argue, they are actually like brothers in arms. They can fight and belittle each other, but they are also ready to save each other on the battlefield. Du Yao, who appears stingy, honestly says that Luofeng is indeed different. Even though he is still a new member, Luofeng's strength can even defeat an immortal. According to him, Luofeng must have a lot of personal wealth, so he is not interested in small loot like that. Luofeng merely smiled faintly. Since arriving on Kongbird Planet, no one had recognized his true identity. It was no surprise, as over 4,000 years had passed since he last appeared in public. His appearance had changed drastically. He had undergone brutal training as a disciple of the Chaos City Lord and now emanated a terrifying aura. Even with minor changes in the color of his skin and face, he was almost unrecognizable. Who would have thought that the young man who was once just a warrior from Earth had become a world master with power on par with an immortal? Over the past 6 months, Luofeng and his team have been carefully exploring the war zone. They avoided enemies that were too strong, but mercilessly eliminated anyone who was their equal or weaker. In summary, during that period, Luofeng and his team fought in 11 bloody battles. 3 of them nearly wiped out their team. It was during one of those battles that Luofeng saved 2 of his comrades, Wei and Mei Nu, who were severely wounded. Now, they are all finally resting and have chosen to stay on the ship. Luofeng then asked Babata about the number of contribution points he had accumulated. She answered, 32 million points. Luofeng frowned. The last 2 enemies he had killed had only added 11 million points. To him, that was very little. He began to understand the system for calculating contribution points. Killing a regular World Master only granted 1 million points, an Elite World Master 10 million. And if there was team assistance, the points would be split. He realized, to meet the 10 trillion point quota set by the Virtual Universe Company, killing ordinary soldiers alone wouldn't be enough. And now his only option was to hunt down the immortals. 3 times in the last 6 months, their team has returned to headquarters to rest. This time, they agreed to carry out one last mission before returning. They began hunting for targets again. After 8 hours of searching, they finally found a new target. On the other side, not far away, the atmosphere on the demon race ship was calm, yet tense. 2 immortal-level warriors stood staring at the scanning screens. One of them, known as Fu Wei-san, spoke in a low yet serious voice. "Their target scanning devices are inferior to ours. They haven't detected our presence yet." The other leader nodded, then turned his gaze toward the 20 world masters behind him. He ordered his subordinates to attack them silently while remaining close to Tuolu so they could disrupt the enemy's detection system. They approached slowly, 10 million kilometers to 8 million, until finally the ship stopped. "Everyone disembark." "We're flying," ordered Fu Wei-san. The two immortal beings led the way, followed by the world masters of the demon race. Meanwhile, at a different location, Luofeng and his team had just finished off a group of enemies. Now, only 2 world masters remained, and they were quickly slaughtered. They hadn't even finished collecting the loot from the battle. However, when something felt off to Luofeng, his eyes narrowed, gazing into the darkness far beyond space. "Enemies are coming," he whispered. Taiwo's scanning device was too standard to detect anything at that distance. However, this was not the case for Luofeng. He had a sophisticated device purchased at a special discount, equivalent to a device costing over 10 million Hun Yuan. Long before the enemies realized they were being approached, Luofeng already knew they were being targeted. And when he saw the direction of the enemies' movements, which were now heading directly toward their position, Luofeng realized this wasn't a coincidence. They were being hunted. From Luofeng's observation, these creatures originated from the demon race, a bloodthirsty form of energy life. They were not only brutal, but also absorbed the bodies of other living creatures to strengthen themselves. Once they exploded, their bodies could transform into even more terrifying forms. At that moment, the 2 immortal beings had already gathered and prepared the energy, forming a dense ball of fire resembling the fire god Origin Crystal, an ultimate weapon, even more powerful than that of most king-level immortals. When they charged, 2 pillars of light shot through the sky like meteors. Luofeng immediately shouted, "Enemy!" Taiwo responded instantly, raising his hands and firing 2 beams in return, shouting, "Retreat!" Everyone, retreat quickly. A massive explosion rocked the space. The space itself tore apart for 1,000 kilometers, but their team reacted quickly enough to survive the massive impact. However, once the explosion subsided, the atmosphere changed completely. Du Yao, the team member who was usually the calmest and most sarcastic, changed drastically. His eyes were red. His voice cracked as he tried to hold back his emotions. It was them! Who ate 7th brother? An aura of anger enveloped the entire team. Wei, the quiet one, stared intently ahead, then shouted with rage, "They ate the flesh of our brothers!" One by one, the veteran team members showed expressions of fury. Even Taiwo, usually calm, was now filled with vengeance. "Madman, Rock, there are sworn enemies. Don't hold back. Kill them all." The battle escalated from a simple fight into a brutal act of revenge. On the other hand, 2 immortal creatures of the demon race laughed happily. They recognized this team. They knew that this team of humans only had 1 immortal, and the rest were ordinary world masters. They thought they would be easy to defeat. They even mentioned how they had eaten one of the members of the human team in the past, and now they wanted to do it again. Soon after, the 2 teams began fighting in space. While in Luofeng's team, Taiwo began leading the assault. Meanwhile, Du Yao, who was most emotionally wounded, exploded. His body transformed from that of a small child into a 12-meter-tall giant. Dark green vines burst forth from his body and then absorbed the potion he had thrown. At that moment, a flash of golden light enveloped all the vines, unleashing the terrifying power he had been preparing for 3,621 years. "I created this potion for this day," he roared, "to avenge the death of 7th brother. Die, all of you!" 72 golden vines erupted forward like sky serpents. 2 world master demons were instantly torn to shreds, their bodies shattered before they could even fight back. Du Yao didn't stop. His gaze locked onto the emaciated immortal creature responsible for his brother's death. You're the one who ate him." His final roar shook the space. Luofeng, Rock, and the rest of the team charged forward, driven by burning anger. Amidst the chaotic and brutal space battle, the situation escalated as 2 immortal beings from the demon race began unleashing their full combat capabilities. One of them, Tuo Lu, brandishes a massive flaming chain 100 meters long, resembling a black fire dragon dancing in the void. Meanwhile, the other immortal demon race member prepares to face Taiwo. They order the World Master forces to attack Taiwo's teams, and a massive clash is inevitable. One of the fiercest battles took place between Tuo Lu and Du Yao. Du Yao, burning with rage, unleashed all his power, summoning 72 giant golden vines to attack his opponent. The vines tore through space and tried to wrap Tuo Lu's body. But Tuo Lu did not stand idly by. He retaliated with his domain power, turning the surroundings into a sea of fire. Du Yao's plants were engulfed in flames, and he himself was injured. But Du Yao paid no heed. He screamed with vengeance, calling out the name Amo, his beloved living plant, to unleash its full power. Du Yao's attack was intense, but Tuo Lu was not easily defeated. He created a large wheel of fire from his weapon and slashed many plants to pieces. But Du Yao's plants, which had high regenerative abilities, continued to grow back despite the extensive damage. Du Yao knew he wasn't strong enough yet. He wept inwardly, remembering his seventh brother, who had died protecting him from this creature. "I swear I will kill you," he muttered angrily. Meanwhile, the battle on the other side was also brutal. Every member of Taiwo's team was surrounded by 2 to 3 world masters. Mei Nu, who tried to use her illusion technique, was unable to break through. Hammer, one of the team members, explained that these creatures were accustomed to living in slaughter, making them immune to deception. The only way to defeat them was to kill them outright. And not just injure them. They had to destroy the core of their enemies' lives. In the midst of despair, Captain Taiwo shouted for Luofeng's help. The Madman, Luofeng's nickname, finally stepped in. With the Yanshen Golden Blade, he swept across the battlefield. In less than 3 seconds, 10 enemy world masters fell dead. Scaled bodies floated in space, their internal worlds shattered, and piles of items were scattered everywhere. Luofeng's brutal attack caused the enemies to panic. Tuo Lu and Fu Wei-san, 2 immortal beings, realized that the human team now had the upper hand. They decided to retreat, but Luofeng didn't give them a chance. With the power of the 9th form of Yanshen armament, he attacked Tuo Lu. The golden blade pierced through his defenses, causing massive damage to the immortal's body. Tuo Lu tried to hold on, but the Du Yao plants returned and wrapped around him completely. This time, the 72 vines shrank to the size of an arm, tightening their grip on him. Tuo Lu writhed and groaned, but the combined strength of the plants exceeded his own. With the sound of cracking bones and bursts of immortal energy, his body collapsed. The Du Yao plants formed a dark green cage after containing the energy explosion, trapping him with no escape. Tuo Lu, an immortal creature from the demon race, was finally defeated. From inside the plant cage, his screams slowly faded away, signaling the end of the monster that had killed many human warriors. Du Yao knelt down, tears streaming down his face, calling out the name Seventh Brother, while hugging the old green vine that had been both a witness and a weapon in his revenge that had finally been fulfilled. After thousands of years filled with vengeance, Du Yao, the warrior who wields living plants, finally avenged the death of his 7th brother. For over 3,000 years, he endured deep emotional wounds, pretending to laugh and live normally. Yet his heart was always consumed by one purpose: to kill Tuo Lu, the immortal flesh-eating creature who had taken his brother's life. And now, as Tuo Lu's body is shattered by 72 vines, Du Yao weeps emotionally, whispering softly, "I did it, 7th brother. I avenged your death." However, the mission is not yet complete. There is still one enemy remaining, Fu Wei-san, an immortal demonic creature currently engaged in battle with Taiwo. Du Yao's eyes blazed with anger. Without hesitation, he regained control of his living plants. At the same time, Luofeng, the madman, also joined the assault, his golden Nanshen blade slicing through space toward the final enemy. Fu Wei-san was aware of the danger approaching. He was no fool. Seeing Tuo Lu dead and the 2 elite human forces closing in on him, he knew his time was running out. In desperation, he chose a reckless move, detonating 10% of his immortal body. His body glowed bright red, then boom, a massive explosion shook the space. Taiwo was thrown far away, the space was torn apart, and the debris from the battle scattered in all directions. The explosion gave Fu Wei-san the chance to escape. In an instant, he shot 100,000 kilometers away. No one could match that speed unless they could teleport. Du Yao could only grit his teeth while Luofeng sighed, realizing they were too far away to catch up. "Let him go," said Taiwo. "We've already made him pay dearly. Blowing up 10% of an immortal's body, that's no small matter." He explained that in an immortal's body, every part contains traces of the soul. When 10% of the body is destroyed, it's equivalent to losing part of one's soul. It would take hundreds of thousands of years to recover. After the battle, they all returned to the C9 warship, moving away from the debris of the destroyed star. Midway through the journey, the atmosphere grew solemn. They raised their glasses, toasting their fallen comrades, especially the seventh brother, who had been the primary reason Du Yao had persevered all this time. Taiwo, who had fought for over 30,000 years, remembered each of his fallen comrades one by one. Now only a few remained, and all shared one dream: to survive until retirement. Luofong and Rock, despite having just joined, could sense how deep the bond between the team members was. In silence, they knew they were no longer just colleagues. They had become family. However, far away in another place, inside the living ship of Fu Wei-san that was speeding through the starry void, anger was boiling. He raged, destroying everything around him, howling in madness. But behind his rage, there was a well-thought-out evil plan. In secret, he had planted a spirit marker within a seemingly ordinary black ring. A ring now among the pile of looted items carried by the human team. With his spiritual trail embedded, Fu Wei-san could sense the item's location at any time, anywhere. That meant he could find them again. He could strike at any moment. Fu Wei-san's eyes glowed with hatred. "I will contact my allies. This time, they will all die." In the dimly lit control room of the ship, Fu Wei-san sat calmly with a burning gaze. His rough claws scratched the armrest, filled with unquenched anger. One question lingered in his mind. Who can I bring to avenge this? And as his thoughts drifted, a flash of light appeared in his eyes. Lei Kei, a fellow immortal being from the demon race and one of the strongest leaders in the western region. Without hesitation, Fu Wei-san immediately contacted him through their race's communication device, though he cursed inwardly. How primitive the demon's communication system was compared to that of humans. In his mind, he was truly envious. Humans had created the virtual universe, a communication system capable of connecting anyone across the entire cosmos. They could fight, train in the laws of the universe, and even meet in simulations that were 100% identical to reality. Meanwhile, he, an immortal being from the demon race, could only make voice calls within a single small galaxy. But that didn't matter now. What mattered was avenging his revenge. On the other side, Lei Kei was enjoying wine, surrounded by his followers who were praising him. The relaxed atmosphere turned tense as soon as he received a call from Fu Wei-san. Hearing the news that Tuo Lu had been killed, his expression immediately changed. Although demons were known to be brutal and selfish, if a member of their race was killed by an outsider, they would unite in anger. However, Lei Kei initially dismissed Tuo Lu's death. "In a war zone like this, death is common," he said. But once Fu Wei-san revealed his plan to take revenge on the human team, and explained how he had planted traps in the form of space rings that would be discarded during battle, Lei Kei began to understand the seriousness of the situation. It turned out that the rings contained important items and spiritual traces belonging to Fu Wei-san, which would allow him to track their location at any time and from anywhere. Lei Kei was stunned. "You're cunning too, it seems," he said. And when he heard that the enemy they were facing was equivalent to 3 normal immortal powers, with 2 of them capable of killing Tuo Lu, although he was a little doubtful of his assessment this time, Fu Wei-san still gave it his all because he had another ace up his sleeve. Fu Wei-san then mentioned the name of a legendary figure, King Meng Wei-na, one of the highest-ranking members of the demon race, part of the elite group known as the 10,000 Hidden Snakes. Although he was usually at the upper normal death level, when his special talent was unleashed, his power could surge to near that of an immortal king. Fu Wei-san knew that if he could bring Meng Wei-na on board, victory would be assured. Lei Kei looked surprised. Inviting such an important figure was no small matter. However, for the sake of honor and revenge, he agreed to contact Meng Wei-na and even offered to give Fu Wei-san her direct contact information. Fu Wei-san smiled smugly, full of confidence. On the other hand, after Luofeng and his team had just finished a fierce battle, successfully eliminating 20 World Masters and 1 immortal enemy, they returned to base aboard the C9 ship. The atmosphere in the rest area was filled with euphoria and excitement as everyone shared the loot of war. Taiwo laughed and reminded everyone to divide the loot fairly. Wei then took on an important task, inspecting the 6 world rings they had obtained from the battlefield, ensuring there were no hidden traces of enemy spirits that had escaped. The war in the extraterritorial battlefield was indeed dangerous and riddled with traps, but they remained vigilant to avoid falling into the enemy's schemes. After making sure everything was safe, the team began dividing the loot. Taiwo gave Madman and Du Yao, the 2 members who contributed the most this time, the opportunity to choose first. While joking around, they continued their preparations and rested after their hard struggle. Luofeng himself sat relaxed on the sofa, raising his wine glass while observing the atmosphere that was beginning to calm down. On the other side, deep within the shattered star fragment, Fu Wei-san transformed into a vengeful figure standing alone with a burning gaze. He was furious because he had lost 10% of his soul due to the human attack. In his agitation, he wonders why Lei Kei has not contacted Meng Wei Na, the leader of the cruel and powerful Hidden Snake Demon clan. Fu Wei-san knows that although he desperately wants to take revenge on humans, he dares not disturb Meng Wei Na directly without permission. Finally, the long-awaited call came. Lei Kei informed him that contacting Meng Wei Na was no easy task. The Hidden Snake clan was highly cautious and would be furious if summoned without a clear reason. However, thanks to Lei Kei's clever strategy, Meng Wei Na finally agreed to take Fu Wei-san's call. With the phone number in hand, Fu Wei-san immediately contacted Meng Wei Na, hoping to obtain assistance in avenging the humans. Meng Wei Na's deep, echoing voice penetrated directly into Fu Wei-san's mind, revealing the demon clan's communication technology to be far more advanced than that of his own demon race. They spoke at length about the war in the outer regions, the heavy casualties, and the reasons why Fu Wei-san wanted revenge. Fu Wei-san assured Meng Wei Na that the human team they were facing consisted of world masters and immortals, 2 of whom possessed extraordinary powers that could even injure demons with their special abilities. Hearing this explanation, Meng Wei Na became interested and declared that Fu Wei-san was now his ally, on the condition that Fu Wei-san did not lie. Fu Wei-san then explained the details of the enemy's location through his clever trap, and Meng Wei Na agreed to wait for the right moment so that they could move without taking any risks. Fu Wei-san could only wait patiently, confident that the genius would eventually come out of hiding. Amidst the darkness of the star fragments, Fu Wei-san swore to wait and try his hardest. He was also proud that killing a genius human was highly valued by the Hidden Snake clan. Although humans are overall weaker than the demon race, a few world masters from the human race possess power equal to that of immortal warriors, making them very dangerous and worthy targets. Meanwhile, at Luofeng's team headquarters, the members had been resting for 15 days, longer than before. Taiwo made sure everyone was ready to fight again. All members, from Hammer the Heavy Hitter to Wei, were eager to continue their journey. Luofeng pondered whether he should stay with the team or try a solo path to speed up point collection and hunt for stronger equipment. However, he knew he wouldn't be free until he collected 1 billion points, so he had to follow the team's rules first. With renewed vigor, Taiwo gave the order and all members quickly moved toward their ships. They once again entered the vast and dangerous space, ready to begin their next journey of slaughter, hunting down enemies and loot in order to survive and strengthen themselves in this cruel battlefield of outer space. So what happens next? Alright, thank you for watching until the end, and don't forget to support this channel with likes, subscribe, and comments. That's all from me. Bye.